and Issues, a monthly business forum bringing timely economic discussion to the region for 35 years. Presented by the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce. Presenting sponsors, Bank of America and Martins Point Healthcare. Cooperating sponsors, First Light, WEX, and Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. Community Corner sponsor, Goral Palmer. Reception sponsors, Clark Insurance, KeyBank, and Veril. Tomorrow's Leaders and Entrepreneurs sponsors, Springborn Staffing Center and AAA Northern New England. Media partners, News Radio WGAN, The Forecaster, WMTW News 8, Maine Biz, with production support provided by Headlight. Special community partners, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, Spectrum Healthcare Partners, the University of Southern Maine, and Southern Maine Community College. And now, please welcome Portland Community Chamber President, Jim Cohen.
Good morning and welcome to Eggs and Issues, the monthly business breakfast and currently virtual business breakfast of the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce. My name is Jim Cohen, and possibly for the first time ever, Eggs and Issues is being broadcast from a location outside of the city of Portland, in this case, from the Chamber's Franklin County studios, and it's a pleasure to be here once again. I'm a partner with the Veril Law Firm, and I'm honored to serve as the volunteer president of the board of directors of the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank all of you once again for joining us safely this month for Eggs and Issues. Today's program features the New England Ocean Cluster in Portland, including some of the tenants in the cluster and members from two of their corporate partners, University of Southern Maine, as well as the University of Maine Graduate and Professional Center, Maine Center Ventures. But before we turn to the program, I want to take a moment once again to thank all of our sponsors of Eggs and Issues who make this event possible, whether in person or virtual. First and foremost, our presenting sponsors, Bank of America and Martins Point Healthcare. I also want to thank our other generous sponsors, cooperating sponsor, Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, reception sponsors, Clark Insurance, KeyBank, and Veril, our new coffee sponsor, Skowhegan Savings Bank, our new remote parking sponsor, Vitalius Real Estate Group, and our community corner sponsors are Goral Palmer and AAA Northern New England. A special thank you to our media partners, The Forecaster, WGAN, WMTW Maine CW, and Maine Biz. And a thank you to our FMI sponsor, the Portland Public Library. We continue to miss our friends at Headlight Audiovisual and the Holiday Inn by the Bay, and we hope to be back in person once again soon, working with them again. Finally, a very special thank you to our special community partners who support all of our chamber initiatives. Anthem, Spectrum Healthcare Partners, University of Southern Maine Community College, and MEMIC. Let's have a virtual round of applause for all of our generous sponsors. Before we turn to today's program, we wanted to spend a moment to talk about a very important issue that's coming up within the city of Portland, and that is the upcoming election in June for a charter commission that was approved by voters in the city of Portland in July of last year. A charter commission is an opportunity for the city to revisit its form of government. It's essentially the constitution for a municipality. The last charter commission that the city held was in 2009. I happened to serve on that charter commission and served as vice chair. And one of the outcomes of that charter commission was the current system where people in Portland are able to directly elect their mayor for a 4-year term. And we're now on the third mayor since that system has started. I was very proud that the chamber was supportive of efforts to allow voters in Portland to elect for the first time in nearly 100 years their mayor. That was an important step. So the new Charter Commission will have an opportunity to re-examine all of the aspects of city government. Those issues could involve the relationship between the manager and the mayor, the way in which the city council is elected, how many members of the city council there are, whether we should continue to have district councilors or eliminate at-large councilors, the composition of the school board, the name of the school board. All of those issues are on the table as long as they are not prevented by state or federal law from going into effect. So it's a very important process. Now, in terms of where this goes from here, after the voters approved a charter commission back in July, the city council very quickly appointed 3 members to the charter commission, but the remaining 9 members are going to be elected by the voters of Portland. And they will be elected basically in the same setup as our city council. So there will be 4 at-large charter commission members and then 5 district charter commission members that will be elected directly from their districts. So again, if you are interested in running, it's very important that we have good, thoughtful people put themselves forward to serve on the Charter Commission. The process will last about a year. Meetings are approximately once a week for 2-ish hours. It's a part of city government, so the meetings are open to the public and public comment is provided. And at this point, it is possible to now take out papers and gather signatures in order to be on the ballot this June for the Charter Commission. The time period closes for taking out papers towards the end of March. If anyone is interested in running or wants to learn more, please feel free to reach out to me through the chamber. I'd be happy to share my experiences and what's involved. As I mentioned, issues that could come up include not only the formation of government, but issues like the referendum process. So we just had 6 referenda campaigns this past winter. And there are some groups that are looking to further expand that. So we might have more referenda, making it easier to get on the ballot. Right now, the city council can't act on a referendum for 5 years if it passes. That could be strengthened to make it even harder for our city government to work. So there are both dangers and opportunities to this charter commission process, making it all the more important that good people come forward to run. Now on to today's topic, strengthening the blue economy, a global responsibility and local opportunity. Almost a year ago, the New England Ocean Cluster, located on Portland's waterfront in the Old Port, announced the opening of their member-based, marine-focused business incubator and co-working space, the Hus, which is Icelandic for house or building. The Hus, an 850 square foot blue economy workspace, features 20 offices, 14 permanent workstations, 2 breakout rooms, an executive boardroom, wraparound balcony, private phone booths, kitchenette, dining area, and presentation space. A perfect location for entrepreneurs and growing companies to accelerate their business. A few months after their announcement, however, the pandemic hit and the launch of the Hus was put on hold. But that did not stop the New England Ocean Cluster, its members and partners from continuing to operate and create. We are excited to have several members of the New England Ocean Cluster team with us today to share with us about the Blue Economy Initiative, introduce us to their new co-working space, the Hus, and to meet their current tenants. Without further ado, I would like to introduce today's presenters. Patrick Arnold, co-founder and CEO, New England Ocean Cluster. Chris Cary, Chief Operations and Marketing Officer, New England Ocean Cluster. Glenn Cummings, President, University of Southern Maine. Terry Sutton, CEO, Maine Center Ventures. Peter Handy, President and CEO, Bristol Seafood. Patrick Breeding, co-founder and Chief Executive Officer, Marin Skincare. As a reminder, like other virtual Eggs and Issues programs, we will be taking questions from the audience today. Please use the chat section in YouTube and your question will be conveyed to our presenters. If you have any additional questions following today's program, you're welcome to send them to the chamber at chamber@portlandregion.com. Now at this time, I would like to introduce our moderator and guide for today's discussion, Patrick Arnold. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Jim, and thank you, and welcome to the Hus. Again, my name is Patrick Arnold. I'm co-founder and CEO of the New England Ocean Cluster. One slight correction, it's about 8,500 square feet. We wouldn't be able to distance if we were in 850 square feet. So you'll see that today. We would like to take you through the Ocean Cluster House, the HOOS. It's effectively our PowerPoint presentation. It is the space that we are catalyzing in the blue economy here in Maine. When we say blue economy, we really abide by the World Bank definition of blue economy, and that is that it must be profitable, it must be environmentally sustainable, and it must be culturally inclusive of the workforce local to the resource. So that means value add economy local to the resource, non-extractive and send the value elsewhere. We've seen this done incredibly well in Iceland, where the Iceland Ocean Cluster in this full utilization movement has value added so much to their major caught species of cod that the waste byproducts are now worth 200% more than the fishery itself. We're going to show you how that works and how that can work for Maine and what sort of opportunities exist for Maine companies getting into the blue economy. So without further ado, we're going to start this tour. I'm going to walk us down over here so that Cary, our Chief Marketing Officer, can talk a little bit about our full utilization and 100% fish model, how they've done it in Iceland, and how it can work here in Maine. So Chris, please take it away.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. Let's do a quick time check. The full utilization model and concept that Patrick just alluded to is proudly displayed on our wall here. This was developed by the Iceland Ocean Cluster, and it's really meant to really cement the concept that you can add value in a multitude of ways to a specific resource. In this case, we're looking at the cod, and the graphic represents how this specific species propagates through the processing cycle to ultimately land at a point where there is zero waste from that particular fishery. Along the way, what you'll see is a cross-disciplinary value-added exercise where multiple products are developed, not only food, but things like digestive enzymes that are used to extract flavoring from the lobster shells or crab shells or shrimp shells. There's things like fish leather, collagen extraction. There are enzymes that are used in medicines to treat colds and sore throats. And it's actually a really robust system. And what's happened is, as Patrick mentioned, the landed value of a cod was around 30 euros before all of these products were developed. And now each one is worth over 90 euros. So if we think about that and translate that opportunity to Maine, we have a dominant cod resource in the Maine lobster. And there's tons of opportunities to explore how we can add value to the waste streams associated with the production of lobster as a primary food product. So this space, this building, we utilize it as a place to build programming and relationships and to ultimately facilitate our network to inspire other entrepreneurs that might be local to our resources and encourage them to find new and creative and innovative ways to build companies and new product opportunities. To talk more about the space, we're going to head over to Janine and meet some of the entrepreneurs who are doing full utilization exercises here in the state of Maine.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. Some of you may recognize me, most of you will not, and that's quite all right. I'm Janine Arnold. I'm one of the co-founders and the designer of the space. As you may have already gathered, based off of Patrick and Chris's comments, we're a little bit more than just a co-working environment. We like to dive deeper with our members and tenants. And here at the Ocean Cluster, we focus on 3 key areas, one of which is innovation, which Chris touched upon a little bit with our fish value machine. The second is education, which we'll touch on more further into the tour. But I would like to point out that part of that education is our entrepreneurship in the Blue Economy series and our work groups, which are currently running in those that we are ramping up here in the new year. But collaboration is what I want to start with for our tour. From a design perspective, it was really important to offer chance opportunities for people to bump into each other. So those here in the incubator, whether they be students or startups or nonprofits, can bump into people who are renting the glass offices and companies. So CEOs, established enterprises and universities. So that opportunity to bump into each other and spark conversation is quite important, as you all know. And in order to make those fruitful, we do carefully curate our space. So we look for a diverse group of people and businesses and from a variety of sectors, all under the umbrella of sustainability in the blue economy, with the idea of full utilization of our ocean resources. So a company that I really want to get to right now is Marin Skincare, and they're doing just that. I had the pleasure of meeting them 2 years ago at a Startup Maine conference, back when we were able to do such things. And so it was really exciting to meet them, and I'm excited for you to hear more about what it is they're doing. Take it away, Patrick.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Patrick Reading. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Marin Skincare. We actually use a glycoprotein found in lobster as the key ingredient in skincare products for people with eczema, psoriasis, and otherwise dry, upset skin. My partner and I, Amber, who's not able to be here this morning, founded this when we were biomedical engineering grad students up at Maine. All throughout school, Amber had this random red, dry, itchy rash concentrated in patches all over her face, which we found was eczema. And she couldn't find anything to help it. There are a lot of bland moisturizers that don't really help, a lot of steroids that actually cause more harm than cause help. So we were always looking for a solution, and we found it in a very unique and on tone to the blue economy, nature of everything theme. So we worked with lobster scientists who are interested in a protein that is found in lobsters, and it's responsible for the lobster's ability to fight off disease, heal wounds, and literally regenerate their own limbs. So we figured, after reading some literature, the same way it can help lobster protect its barrier, maybe we could help repair the skin's barrier. So we did a little bit of research. We also formulated this protein into our own skin cream and applied it to Amber's eczema. You kind of do that type of thing after you've tried everything. And so after just a couple days of applying our first cream, Amber's eczema was completely calmed. It was really, really incredible, and it was life-changing for us. And this is why we started Marin. We wanted to take this lobster protein, incorporate it into skincare products, and bring other people like Amber the same relief she was able to find. So what's really cool about what we're doing is that this protein found in lobster is found in the circulatory fluid, and you typically think lobster and seafood. So this circulatory fluid is literally going right down the drain in lobster processors. It's wasted, there's no value added. So we found a way, by partnering with Luke's Lobster, to go in, collect this glycoprotein from lobsters. We're literally a new process in there on the side of the conveyor belts, taking lobsters off, collecting glycoprotein, putting it back as if nothing ever happened. The meat quality is fine. So we're creating this completely new stream of value and revenue for lobster processors. And this is really exciting because it's literally helping thousands and thousands of people achieve a better quality of life. This is what we're all about. So we launched in early October. It started as all young startups do, a couple sales a day, then a couple dozens, then a couple hundreds. And as PR exposure really picked up, we were selling thousands of products, but we quickly sold out of inventory within 2 months. And so in hindsight, it's really incredible that just a few years ago, we were undergrads at Maine. We didn't have any eye for entrepreneurship. We didn't have any business acumen or skills, but we were exposed to the right influences, the right mentors, and the right people and community that helped us develop the mindset so that we could become the people we needed to be to build the business that Marin is today. And that's something we love about the New England Ocean Cluster community here, because there are just so many people and resources that are willing to come together to help young entrepreneurs like us. You know, as biomedical engineers, we're kind of jack of all trades, but masters of none. So we've had everyone from direct to consumer marketing to operations, investors, to raw material biotech people come in and help us create this completely new venture, this new product, this new value-added stream from nothing. So we're really excited about the future. We're looking into this year trying to become a 7-figure brand, and we think we can add a lot of value to the lobster industry. We're specifically focusing on is just growing, finding new customers, finding ways to segment audiences, and finding specific ways to speak to these audiences. So if you have any interest in what we're doing, whether it's the products, you want to learn more about it, you want to talk lobster and skincare, which is certainly a unique category that we're creating here, or you have any thoughts as to how we can better market, build our brand, and reach new customers, we are young, we are excited, we are sponges for information, so please reach out over Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Marin Skincare, or on our website, marinskincare.com. We would love to connect with you or grab a coffee with you. And we're excited to share the story of the first of many products that we developed based with lobster glycoproteins. Thank you so much for having us this morning.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
So continuing that conversation of collaboration, I would love to point out we've had community partnerships, such as Fred Forsley of Shipyard sponsoring an entrepreneurial desk, which Patrick and Amber get to benefit from, to really lift up our entrepreneurs and give them the best foot forward. We've had sponsorships from companies like Bristol Seafood, who we'll talk to later, for inclusion in the Blue Economy desks. So it's been really cool to see the community's participation in what it is we're doing here. We're in the catch, the in-house market, and yes, it has some really cool isolated products that we can't normally get our hands on easily, but more importantly than that is the celebration of what the innovative products that spun off from the Iceland Ocean Cluster and even some entities within our ocean cluster. So Feel Iceland, Thropy, but to Marin Skincare and Rugged Seas, who you'll see as we kind of move our way this way. So as a designer, I like to approach each project through a biophilic filter, ensuring that, we think about the concept that we are human beings. We weren't designed to spend as much time indoors as we currently do. And so finding ways for us to interface and think about our exterior environments. And there's a misconception that it's just throw a bunch of plants indoors and call it good, though there are some beautiful plantscapes that I absolutely love. It's a little bit more than that, but it is a great start. So that is something that I was very mindful of, a holistic approach when designing our space. And I think we'll go back to Chris.
Yeah, so I do want to take a moment to point out the gentleman behind the camera. He was chosen to do the camera work because he has the most steady hand in the company. So if you've engaged with the Ocean Cluster before, you've probably met Brady Davis, and Brady's role is really closely connected to workforce development and integrating students and academic resources into the Ocean Cluster programming. I think one of the coolest things about what we do here is we find really clean ways to pair participants in industry with students, local students. And it's been a lot of fun to see programs grow and exchanges spread across the North Atlantic. There's programming that takes place both here in Maine, as well as countries like Iceland. And the next two folks that you'll speak with have been integral to supporting our effort to connect student capacity with industry. So we'll move down the way here. We'll pass our innovation wall that's kind of full of both Maine and Iceland-based products. Some of them you saw in the catch. And I want to tee up the next presenter, President Glenn Cummings, by saying the future of our blue economy is very closely connected to what students like Patrick do. So we're very much looking forward to how these programs and relationships continue to evolve. Glenn.
Well, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Brady. We're delighted to be here. A few comments about why are we as a university so interested in particularly the blue economy and the future of trade routes along the North Atlantic. We think a vital university can't be just one that's looking at what's going to happen in the next 18 months or even in the next couple of years. We need to be at a place where we're looking at what's happening in the next decade. So when we project out around what's happening in the world, for good or for bad, the trade routes across the top of Russia, across the top of Canada, will be changing dramatically over the next decade. Already 4 months out of the year, shipping lanes can now move across the top of Russia, which was never, at least in multiple lifetimes, have not been able to accomplish. And that will change across the top of Canada over the next decade. Our job is to prepare our next generation of business students, biology students, anthropology students, our major MBA program that we're now working with the Graduate Center. You'll hear from Terry Sutton in just a few minutes. We need to prepare our students, not for tomorrow or even next year, but for the decade ahead. Our goal is that our students would have practicums and experiences, internships and co-ops that will allow them to build the relationships in the North Atlantic. Once those trade routes change, Portland becomes the first major port along the North Atlantic of the within the American geography, and that changes our opportunities. It excels our opportunities. Our goal is that our graduates would have our connections to places in Tromsø, Norway, and Oslo, in Reykjavik, in Denmark, and in Sweden, that would allow them to follow the trade routes, for example, of IMSCIP, then build on those relationships to maximize value. So our hope is that when we we complete our work here and set up the next generation, our hope is that we have created an opportunity to excel as a port and to take advantage of the companies that are beginning to emerge that you're seeing right now. And we have had so far undergraduate, we've had about 80 or so students that have had experiences in the North Atlantic. They could be in a variety of disciplines. And what we're seeing is that those relationships are maintaining, and that we're finding that our students are now getting jobs as they graduate in local companies. We've worked with about a dozen, probably more than a dozen local companies that are connected to the blue economy, connected to international trade routes, and connected directly to the North Atlantic. So the purpose is for us is to be able to make sure that those students have the skills, have the connections, the relationships, and the understandings of what the future is going to bring.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you.
So it's really exciting to think about two people have been hired as a result of the relationships that they've built through blue economy internships and activities. And Glenn, you've been to Iceland before and traveled with us to meet the folks at the Iceland Ocean Cluster and develop some very strong bonds with universities across the North Atlantic. And do you see that being a continued emphasis of what you have going at the University of Southern Maine?
Absolutely, and we see it as the idea is to create that a two-way experience, so that we have students from Reykjavik University, University of Iceland, Tromsø University in Norway, and so our hope is that those students are coming here, and some of them have come here, and then we have our rotations of students coming out into the North Atlantic. The purpose obviously is that once they get connected to us, they can share some of their knowledge. And what we're seeing is if you have, if you look at GDP per capita, Iceland, Norway have a significantly higher GDP than almost any state in the country. So when you compare that, what are they learning about policy, about the future? How are they organizing their relationship between government and business, for example? So the tighter relationships we have with those governments, but also those universities, the more interchanges we have between the Portland area and Maine and those organizations, colleges, universities there, as well as businesses and government, the more we're learning and the more we can add value to the Portland area.
And we've worked very closely with the honors program over the past couple of years, as well as the business program. We're excited that 2021 will have a lot of engagement with the STEM program at the University of Southern Maine. And now it seems like a great time to turn it over to Terry and begin talking about some of the work that we've done with graduate students and kind of a pathway to the future work we might do with the center.
Great, thank you. So I'm Terry Sutton. I'm the CEO of Maine Center Ventures, and Maine Center Ventures is a 501c3 established by a Alphon Foundation challenge grant, but we are part of the University of Maine system. So I work with my colleague across the hall here, Glenn, on many of the opportunities that the Ocean Cluster has provided for us. So we've been working with the Ocean Cluster actually prior to even my tenure here for about 4 years. And the partnership has really helped us bring students and faculty to bear, bring the resources of the university system to bear in supporting entrepreneurial development. So we at the University of Maine Graduate Professional Center, we are bringing together the graduate programs in the School of Law, the MBA program, which Glenn was referencing is now combined MBA between University of Maine and USM, and also USM's Muskie School's graduate programs in the Masters of Public Health and the Masters in Planning, Policy, and Management. And so we are bringing those together, those disciplines together, first programmatically and eventually physically, so that we can get that kind of integration and interdisciplinary collaboration that's going to be so critical for these graduates to succeed in this more complex world that we live in. And our connection here at NEOC has really helped give us an on-ramp for those students and faculty to engage with the companies here that could use that kind of support. And so we see this as an integral part of our, part of the value proposition that we intend to deliver is supporting economic development. I mean, that's really why we're doing this. It's about interdisciplinary education, professional education and executive development, and the experiential offerings that we can provide our students. So that's the key, I think, that here you're getting that experiential offering that's really important for students to develop and also to support the economy. And we are also collaborating with a fellow tenant here with Maine Center for Entrepreneurs in a leadership development program for new CEOs. So CEOs that have come out of the Top Gun program are going through today as a cohort. There's a little over a dozen of them that are being supported by the Graduate Center, Maine Center for Entrepreneurs, and some really generous time and talent from Bangor Savings Bank. So I'd just like to give a shout out to them for that program. And there are a couple of blue economy companies in there, American Unagi, which also had a very strong start with the Darling Marine Center as part of the University of Maine, and also Bang Island Mussels, which if you look off the deck here out of the conference room, you can see an operation right there. So we're really excited about that program and our ability to support the development of entrepreneurs as they develop as leaders.
Excellent. Thank you, Terry. Okay. We're going to come this way. And as you've seen, we sort of started with a startup and then worked our way into the workforce development that's critical for helping students and entrepreneurs grow and innovate. But really what's critical to the community, value adding, is corporate leadership. Even the Ocean Cluster is a for-profit private sector enterprise. Thor, our partner in Iceland, said, that is critical because then we value every hour, every dollar. And that's what it takes to get return. But for us, from the beginning, he also said it's critical to involve corporate leadership in the community. So from the beginning, we assembled a board of companies that really financed our vision here to add value. Companies like Pierce Atwood and KeyBank, Woodard & Curran, Allen Insurance Financial, Highliner Seafood. And one of those companies was Bristol Seafood. Bristol Seafood has been value adding with the New England Ocean Cluster from the very inception. And what we'd like to do is introduce you now to the CEO of Bristol Seafood. And there might be a little glare on the sun, so we're going to adjust to get that at his back. But here to talk about what Bristol has been doing is CEO Peter Handy.
Thanks a lot, Patrick. My name is Peter Handy. I'm from Bristol Seafood, and my team and I are on a mission to make seafood America's favorite protein. We do that in a few different ways. One of the things we do is we're really intent on telling the truth and adding transparency to what we do. But we're also the first fair trade certified seafood company in America. We have ready to cook seafood that is restaurant quality with compound butters and marinades. And we're working on new things every day. One of the things that we collaborate with the New England Ocean Cluster on is our work towards inclusivity. And we sponsored a program here called Inclusivity in the Blue Economy to help promote women, people of color, and frankly, folks from outside the industry like me to be able to come in and participate. And last night I was thinking about what inclusivity means and how it shows up for us at Bristol. And I was thinking about this. I walked to our break room to get a cup of coffee, and I saw two of our team members who are Muslim participating in the call to prayer. And I saw a new team member of ours from Texas sitting at the table having dinner wearing a cowboy hat. And seeing that all in the same room in the same company is extremely special to me. It's one of the things that I think is crucial to our ability to be successful. And I'm hoping to have that be a bigger part in the blue economy in Portland overall. Technology is also a really important thing to us. We've learned an awful lot about technology through our relationship with the NEOC in Iceland. And today we're using things like X-ray and vision technology in our plant with water jets to help increase our processing speed and increase the amount of precision and quality we can produce, and really support our team to help create jobs that are higher paying and really help to support the local economy here in Portland. And it's just a treat to be part of the New England Ocean Cluster. Thanks a lot for having me here, Patrick.
Thank you. And one thing to add, as Peter has been with us from the beginning, is on that inclusion element. We never know where the best practices are going to come from, or the best ideas are going to, or who they're going to come from. So this environment is supposed to be a catalyst just to make that casual, bring people together over coffee. So before I leave you on this, Peter, I just have a question. As we've gone through the pandemic, how has Bristol used the office here at the cluster, at the Hoops?
It's a good question. I think it's been a place for me to come clear my head. As you might imagine, leading a seafood processing plant during a pandemic is about as exciting as you might think. And over and above that, there's an interesting dynamic going on with people working from home. You're working from home, or maybe you have a chance to come to an office where there's 1 or 2 or 3 people. And what the clusters provided is really that in-between space where you're not at home, you're not at work, but you can come, get your head clear, think, get some work done, and maybe make some new friends at a 6-foot distance. And that's really been a treat during this period of time.
Awesome. Thank you. So what we're going to do now is just take you for the last part into the boardroom. And there'll be a little bit of a glare. Brady, you can just span around and then I'll come here. And, you know, again, this one thing COVID has showed us all is, you know, we have to adjust. There's some pivoting, there's some changes that have had to take place. But the one thing we don't do is we don't stop. The community doesn't stop. We don't stop what we're doing. We just adapt together. We find new ways to move forward together. We're really, really appreciative to live in such a place where the Chamber of Commerce, the universities, our corporations, our artists and entrepreneurs understand what it is to act as one, as a family. That's sort of the main way. We care about the environment. We must make money. We must survive. That is done with an all hands on deck community vision. We do that together. So we're grateful for this opportunity. We look forward to meeting some of you as COVID adjusts. But one thing I do want to say is for chamber members, we've not done any day use for tenancy yet. But what we're going to do for the next 4 months is offer one of the offices for day use tenants to rent. And so there'll be more online on our website, and Tommy and Quincy will send out a notice on that. But it'll be a special day use rate for chamber members to participate and come down here and have coffee with us. So with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Chris, who will moderate our Q&A session. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Great tour, great content, great to hear from all of you. Incredible stories, and we're very excited to be able to share them with the audience. Do feel free to shoot questions in through the the channels that you have available to you, those in the audience and those watching. And panelists, if there's an opportunity to interject and offer additional commentary, please don't hesitate to do so. We want to hear from you for the most part. To start though, what I want to do, Patrick, is I want to turn a question back to you that we as the Ocean Cluster get a lot. Being candid, the Ocean Cluster model can be broad to understand initially. And so what we like to do is to zero in on how we operate from a 30,000 foot level. And I would ask you, Patrick, just the simple question, you've defined the blue economy. We adhere to the World Bank's definition, but why is that context so important when it comes to both workforce and commercial development?
Sure. So what we have observed in places that have best practices with value-add economy, take Norway and Iceland, for instance. Their GDP per capita is higher than any state in the United States, each of them. They have had to involve the entire community in value adding to a product. They've had, universities do great research, but they might not be the fastest when it comes to commercial development. But that great research needs to be commercialized, as you've seen with Patrick Breeding and Amber. So you need everybody involved in that, the for-profit, private sector, the corporate leadership. We don't take anything out of context. We recognize that the whole community has to be cultivated together. So that's why we focus on everything, as it relates to the blue economy here at the Hoos.
And I want to piggyback on the initial question and ask perhaps Glenn and Terry. I very fondly think back to my graduate experience at the University of Southern Maine, and the kind of core tenets to an education is that we are amongst a progressive community, a purpose-driven community. Faculty advises us on how to think about operating in the world as a better human, as well as mastering the content that we're responsible for mastering. And so I wanted to ask you folks, how do you celebrate these modern developments when it comes to commercial development? And by modern, I mean a lot of new businesses are thinking about how to do things with people and the planet in line with profit. And so how is that a mindset that you kind of push to your faculty and ensure that it makes its way onto the students? And Glenn, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, and thank you for asking that question. We know that the way that we've been using the earth and using each other as part of our method of prosperity is not sustainable. And so if a university is going to look to the future, as I talked about earlier, it has to say, what are the ways in which we can help change the values? And by the way, one of the nice parts about this is not just that the students are surprisingly aware, perhaps more than the generation or two above them, about how important the sustainability element is of what they do and why that's a driving part of their mission. So one of the advantages of building these internships with these emergent companies and other companies is that you often bring the young people to the table who are able to articulate why climate change is a serious threat to us, why there are alternative ways of thinking about business, biology, technology as ways to save, to really put us in a much more high integrity position with the environment. And so that I just want to emphasize that this goes both ways. And so we have lots of companies that say, do you have internships? I get almost on a weekly basis of people that I know in the business community, many of them chamber members, saying, hey, how can I even strengthen my ability to get interns and people who will do a co-op or even a modified job shadow with us. And those students are bringing, I think, their added value as well as the university celebrating our own mission. I'll just give you one specific example. As we develop the Portland campus, we plan to have the largest passive house approach to a dormitory, one of the largest in North America. The idea is to save an enormous amount of energy in the next 20 to 40 years as we take advantage of that development project. So those are the things that the university has to do to set the example of why sustainability matters. Thank you.
And I'll just chime in. So Glenn did a great job of the big picture, and I'll just do a very small, narrow slice as an example. We have, through the faculty in the business schools, come up with a concentration for the MBA, where you can now get your MBA with a concentration in sustainable development. So, you know, by responding to what is going on in the world and where the needs are headed, we're trying to make sure that we're aligned with, you know, market forces and the greater good.
That's great. Thank you both. And Peter, I wanted to go to you next with a question. I've had the privilege of eating cod with you in Reykjavik, Iceland before. And one of the things that the Ocean Cluster works really hard at doing is establishing a network, but not necessarily getting bogged down with the subject matter expertise of a specific initiative or project. But you're obviously very vertically integrated. And I'm curious what your experience has been like navigating some of the corridors of the Ocean Cluster network, either, you know, local, regional, or perhaps international, and what impact it's had on how you think about operations at Bristol Seafood.
That's a great question. It gets at the answer is that there have been little impacts and huge transformational impacts. On the little side, one of the things you hit on is the folks at the New England Ocean Cluster are tied together by a kind of common belief, right? That sustainability in the blue economy and taking a progressive look at business are not just good, but necessary ways to approach growth over the coming decades. And so one is it's just great and nourishing to spend time around a bunch of people that feel that way, right? Whether they're making lotion or fish, right? It's just nice to be all together. On the transformational side, I went out to Iceland with the New England Ocean Cluster team and visited a number of plants out there. And we talk a lot about some of the labor challenges in Portland, but you want to talk about labor challenges in Iceland, they catch 20 times more fish per capita. And they're on a little rock in the middle of nowhere, right? There's only 350,000 people there. And so they've figured out how, with a relatively small group of people, to do incredible things. And we've taken some notes from that and brought some of that technology back here to help us with our small group do some really neat things. And it's been a privilege to be able to learn from some of the other people in this network.
And I might piggyback because we have an audience question that is related to kind of a lack of knowledge of what takes place in Maine, perhaps from the oh, it just jumped on me, from the financial world. And the question is, for folks that don't know about what's happening in Maine and don't know about the companies here and the startups, and they might have an interest in either the work that you're doing or the work that Patrick is doing, is there a way that you think Maine and its businesses, its industry, can better present itself to the world so they're aware of what's happening here on a broader scale? Or maybe I'll even ask, do you see that as a challenge for Bristol Seafood?
It's interesting. So I'm not from Maine. I showed up here in 2014 from New York City. I mean, almost as bad as Boston, but not quite, right? And what I found is that in coming here, I've just been amazed at the number of people who reached out a hand to help me get to know people and help me feel welcome. And if there's anything that our state does exceptionally well, it's taking folks who express some level of interest and helping them meet friends, neighbors, colleagues, job opportunities. And so there may be an opportunity to institutionalize that. There may be an opportunity for a program to further that. But in the absence of it, I think that we're really best in class in showing ourselves well and extending a welcoming hand. And it's one of the reasons why I love being here.
Thanks, Peter. Patrick, turning to you, you have obviously engaged in a very fast pace of development with Marin. And we have a question that kind of is probing whether or not there are partnerships that you feel you don't have access to as a young and budding entrepreneur. What the fabric of our blue economy and the support that's available to you, what are the areas of greatest difficulty as you grow your company from the ground up and freshly out of academia, I might say?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I almost feel that butting on Peter's answer, there are a few resources, technically speaking, that aren't available, that are readily accessible for us. You know, there's amazing funding from MTI, from small institutions like grant programs like Libra Future Fund for us. There's mentorship, there's MCE, Top Gun, Scratchpad Accelerator, Startup Maine. I think for young people and young founders like myself, the capabilities of the company don't exceed the capabilities of the founder and the founder's mindset and personal ability to execute and think thoughtfully about things in the next step. So I would say that the biggest hurdle for us is personal development, so we can get out of our own way and move forward. And so that comes down to, I think, the best way we can approach that is find the right people in the right spaces, not get bogged down. One of the things I learned from you guys at New England Ocean Cluster is to find the specific mentors that we need at the right time, rather than have 200 generalist mentors come in and try to weigh and have an amalgam of everyone else's opinion, but find what we need to find that allow us to develop in certain areas when we need it and to move forward. And right now for us, that's hiring people, that's hiring customer service, fulfillment, and marketing people to bring onto our team here. And that's something that we're actively learning how to do. So personal development, I think, is the answer to that question.
Thank you, Patrick. And so what I wanted to do with kind of our final couple of minutes here is I wanted to circle back to Patrick Arnold and take 30 seconds to address the elephant in the room. We are a collaborative workspace. We are operating during a global pandemic. And I thought I would just open, the door for you to comment a little bit on our operation and what we do to keep things safe and healthy for everyone that does come in the front door.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. I don't know if that's a softball or a hardball, but you embrace the elephant. I mean, you always embrace the elephant like that for any entrepreneurial endeavor, any pivot, survival, embrace the elephant. In COVID, we've been really bullish about it because as Peter talked about, there's significant transition in the life-work balance and how people like to work and where they like to work. So just as you would see any decline in co-working, we are seeing an entire new market open up of people who say, I want to come in twice a week. I want a professional environment to plug into. The rest of the time, I'd like to work from my home. That's new. The advancements in telecommunications and Zoom video conferencing platforms such as this, that's not going away. There's efficiencies that have occurred. So we're bullish on all of that. And then finally, I just say, no matter what life, COVID, the world, whatever is thrown at all of us, there are fundamental truths that don't change, like the need for human interaction, like the need for people to, connect with each other. When businesses go to trade shows, that occurs and it leads to new business. The Ocean Cluster model is fundamentally a permanent and stationary trade show where people are intentionally oriented along the same lines, mission, vision, driven, all of that, but they're really trying to commercially develop and do business. And as Patrick talked about, what resources don't we have access to? Sometimes entrepreneurs don't know that. And so when Patrick and Amber are developing their product and distributing out of their house, there's not necessarily budget for an office. But when an entrepreneur or a large corporate leader like Fred Forsley steps in and can sponsor a desk for them here at the Hoos, then all of a sudden they get plugged in and have access, not through an application process, but through coffee and communication on the network. So we're bullish about. And
it's funny, I wanted to just add, I never foresaw myself being someone that needed to read and learn CDC language and invest, countless hours in pretty dense regulatory compliance responsibilities for a space. And we're a collaborative workspace, but we're kind of like part restaurant, part public space, part academic institution, part retail. And so we have to bounce between, making sure we have the best practices and all of the necessary infrastructure in place to address those types of operations. And it's been a great learning experience for me. And it's even more, I guess, fulfilling to see people come in here regularly and enjoy the space and feel comfortable doing so. So we're thankful to have people passing through and comfortable in the space. And I know we're running out of time, so I think with Jim rejoining, it's my duty to hand it back to him. I'll thank the group at large very much for this opportunity, the chamber, all of your sponsors, our tendency here, the panelists. It's a wonderful community to be a part of. Jim.
Thank you so much. We have really learned a tremendous amount from all of you. I've known some of you for decades. I look forward to getting to know some of the folks that I haven't met before, but to see higher education, our business community coming together, collaborating, providing entrepreneurial opportunities, providing opportunities for education, workforce development. Those are core values of the chamber. The fact that participants in the New England Ocean Cluster are working towards more diversity and inclusion, considering issues like sustainability, also core values of the chamber. So we really can't thank you enough. We've learned a tremendous amount about the blue economy. We look forward to learning more about the blue economy in the weeks and months ahead, and we wish you all the very best of success. I also want to say to Peter Handy's comment about the welcoming nature of our community, I think that's really important. And I think it's important that we continue to lend that hand to welcome people coming to Maine, finding opportunities, continuing to provide opportunities for people to find good jobs, start good businesses, and grow and make this the place that we believe it is and is to both live and work. So as we conclude today's program, you can view a complete list of all of the Chamber's upcoming events on the Chamber's website. You can follow the Chamber across all social media platforms and its newsletter, and we encourage you to do so. And we look forward to seeing you next month at our next Eggs and Issues, which will be featuring U.S. Senator Susan Collins. We're very excited to have Susan Collins joining us next month, and we hope all of you will join us as well. In the meantime, please be well, stay healthy, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.